Welcome to the Biotech Startups podcast by Exceeder. Join us as we speak with first-time founders, serial entrepreneurs, and experienced investors about the challenges and triumphs of running a biotech startup, from pre-seed to IPO, with your host, John Chi. Our guest today is Jimmy Sastra, co-founder and CEO of Monomer Bio, a software company building next-generation tools for lab automation and cell engineering. Jimmy has 2 decades of experience in robotics, applied optimization, and lab automation. As VP of Engineering at Transcriptic, later Stratios, the world's first biology cloud lab, he led the development of more than 20 automated work cells spanning biological assays, chemistry, and synthetic biology. Earlier in his career, Jimmy was part of the groundbreaking team at Willow Garage that created the Robot Operating System, ROS, now used in more than half of the world's robots. He earned his PhD working on automated parameter optimization in autonomous legged and humanoid robots. With a unique background bridging robotics, automation, and biology, Jimmy brings a systems-level perspective to how labs of the future will operate, making this a series you won't want to miss. Over the next 4 episodes, Jimmy shares how a lifelong passion for robotics and problem-solving led him from Stratios to co-founding Monomer Bio, where automation, software, and biology converge to transform cell culture. He also reflects on lessons learned from international experiences, the realities of startup building, and why adaptability, risk management, and first principles thinking are central to shaping the future of autonomous science. Today, we'll hear about Jimmy's international beginnings. Born in the Netherlands to Chinese-Indonesian parents, growing up in Eindhoven under the shadow of Philips and ASML, and soaking up early dinner table stories of precision machines and big ideas. We'll also hear how the creative Rebellious streak led from late-night murals to a hard reset in Japan, how navigating a new culture and language sharpened his independence, and why math and making things became his anchor. And we'll trace the path to Penn through all-nighters in bioengineering labs, early lessons in discipline, and the moment Jimmy realised the wet lab's tedium could be a problem worth solving, pointing him towards robotics. Without further ado, let's dive into part 1 of our conversation with Jimmy Sastra.
Jimmy, so good to see you again. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time, John.
I know it's been a while, and maybe it was back around like SLAS, since we were first kind of like, talking about, Monomer and, the journey and getting this set up. So we've been really looking forward to this. It's been a while since SLAS, but whenever we start these conversations, we like to go all the way back to the beginning and kind of hear like what influenced you and kind of what kind of not only influenced your business philosophy, but also like your leadership style and what got you into STEM. So take us all the way back. What was young Jimmy like? And kind of tell us about your adolescence and upbringing.
Sure. In terms of upbringing, I'd say 3 adjectives come to mind: international, creative, like in the creating kind, building things, and lastly, rebellious.
Yeah, I resonate with that. It'll be like,
good. Absolutely. I think a lot of founders do.
yeah, definitely the rebellious streak in me for sure.
Yeah, but I'll unpack that. I'll leave the rebellious till the end. International in that my parents are Chinese Indonesian. So
my mom's Indonesian.
Really?
Yeah, she grew up in Jakarta.
Yeah, my dad's from Jakarta. My mom is from Padang.
Cool. Very cool.
Wow. Cool. This is the first time I hear about this.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. See, it's always good to go back and just start from the beginning.
Yeah. Cool. I wonder what else we'll uncover in the next couple hours.
I'll say like I definitely the most like I miss Indonesian food and Malaysian food too. It's hard to come by in the city, but when whenever I get the chance, I always try to try to get my fill.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we got to go out for some Indonesian food sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, my parents are Chinese Indonesian. I like to joke that I was surprised to be born in the Netherlands. Uh, Born and raised there till I was 15. Then we moved to Japan for 2 years, where I finished up high school. And then I lived on the East Coast in the US. And now I've been in the West Coast of the US for like more than a decade now. So that's why I say I had a very international upbringing.
What was the Netherlands like?
I loved it. We lived in Eindhoven, which is known for Philips, their sports club, PSV, PSV for soccer fans, and Philips also spun out ASML.
Yep.
And I'd say
Very, very right now, like relevant, and people are probably like at first when I heard, I was like, "Who the heck is ASML?" And I was like, "Oh, very important." Like,
very important, especially.
yeah.
And as a kid, my dad would always come home from work and tell stories about his work at the physics lab at Philips, and he actually helped with a lot of the stage mechanisms that go into these ASML lithography machines.
Wow,
And so I heard a lot of cool stories.
that's badass.
I
That's
know,
like seriously badass.
yeah. And so at the time, I don't think I fully understood or appreciated. And in fact, the world didn't know about ASML.
Yeah,
Cool to now see ASML in the news,
yeah.
being involved in politics, being known as building the most complex machine in the world. And yeah, and it's cool to now look back and know my dad was involved in building these machines that now go for like $500 million.
It's so crazy.
Machine that is like the size of a bus.
It's so crazy, and it's interesting too because like I have family who are in the semis industry, and
Yeah.
semis were very uncool for a long time. Like very uncool. Everyone was like a commodity, like it's just like and semis were uncool, and now they're like obviously very cool and like very important to everything. But that's awesome to hear that like you're able to experience that as a young person.
Yeah.
And so that was like you said you were in the Netherlands right up till high school. So this is
I was 15, right when I hit puberty.
yeah.
My dad decided it'd be a good idea for me to move to a completely different country with a very different culture.
Was it a personal move or was it like a work move? And was your mom also at Philips too?
My mom has always been a stay-at-home mom, taking care of us. My dad moved us out to Japan because there was opportunity between Philips and Sony to do a joint venture, and he was the CTO leading that effort.
Very cool. Very
And
cool.
later, he did the same in Korea, and then between Philips and Lucky Gold Star for displays, and then later he moved to Singapore.
Whoa.
So very national and very like creative, and I think I've always been primed to become an engineer. I think in part because of my dad.
Was there pressure or was it just via osmosis where it was just like
via osmosis? No, like my dad had all these books lying around that I now actually leverage, but when I was 10 through 15, I would read all these books like A Good to Great,
wow,
Dilemma, The World is Flat,
whoa,
Emotional Intelligence.
that's super cool.
Classic business strategy books. And now they all come to use. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say because I don't think I read it's Jim Collins, right? I like
Jim Collins,
yeah.
Clayton Christensen.
Yeah, like I don't think I started like reading those until I was like I wouldn't say like recently, but like I was like an adult at that time. So like as like as an adolescent, that's like those are like really formative concepts and like very cool that like you're able to kind of tap into that early. I think I could have found a lot of value on like probably a lot less mistakes if I read those books earlier.
Yeah, and I actually prefer those books because they're really well thought out. And
yeah.
Like, as opposed to a lot of just posts on Hacker News of someone's singular point of view.
Yeah.
Your own one startup personal experience.
Yeah. And I think we're, nowadays, like, I mean, people like, there's a lot to be learned from those. Like, I mean, people need to read more books rather than these kind of like little, like what you said, like these like little snippets. It just
Right.
doesn't give you the full
The sound
context.
bites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sound bites are like insufficient at best. So talk about your experience in Japan. I mean, that's like I'm going to assume very different than the Netherlands.
Oh, yeah. I'd say very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different culture. And I'll maybe contrast some of the cultures. I think in the Netherlands, yeah, I had a lot of that was like what I was used to. And then I moved to Japan and went to international school. That was only 27 kids in my year. And I didn't speak Japanese.
I can
Leading up to
imagine that's
moving to
hard.
Japan, my parents like, you got to learn English. I took English lessons.
Oh
I
man.
really had to learn Japanese while I was there. So yeah, I'd say it was a bit isolating.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I'm going through puberty, so it's
Yeah.
you
It
know,
didn't help. It
fell
didn't
down
help.
like all this. It didn't help.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think it was a really formative experience in like learning to be, struggle and rely on yourself. Learning that there's a different school, it has a different playground, it's different rules,
Yep.
different things are cool.
Yeah. 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 Like you
And
have
I
to learn
moved,
new cultural norms for sure.
yeah, exactly. Adjusting to different norms, and then moving to the US was piece of cake.
Yeah. 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 Um, and like, did you have your rebellious streak like through this kind of era? I'm going to imagine as a teenager, like it was kind of prime rebellious.
Yeah, I would say right before moving to Japan.
Yeah.
So during that time, I led a team of four, I like to say, and it was like a little graffiti crew
Yeah. Yeah.
where we would make murals. We were artists. We made murals, so it wasn't vandalism. We made mural late at night, and it culminated in us getting arrested.
I mean, look, I'm familiar because like San Francisco, being in the Bay Area, San Francisco and the Bay Area had a very thriving graffiti scene. Yeah, and you know, like Dream and like KR Crank and like KR1 and like I was also had a rebellious streak. Familiar with what you're talking about, but yeah, and obviously like Twist and everybody in San Francisco. Anyways, sorry.
Different crews.
So you had to run in with the law enforcement.
Yeah, I had my
Yeah.
own crew.
Yeah.
It involved like even it was late at night.
Yeah.
My three friends were supposed to be on the lookout,
Oh boy.
but it didn't work out that well.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere, four cop cars showed up. I started sprinting and got pretty far, I like to say.
This was still in the Netherlands, or was this already
So
in
in the
Japan?
Netherlands,
Oh,
yeah.
got it.
And I got as far as like a fence that I started climbing, and then the cop grabbed me and it's like, gotcha.
Oh boy. How did your parents react?
Not good.
Not good. Yeah.
Yeah, and neither were my friends' parents.
Yeah. I can imagine you entered a world of pain.
Yeah, my dad said he was shocked because we were, for the most part, we were like good kids.
Yep.
I got good grades.
Yep.
But my dad said, "Well, at least you're creating something."
Yeah. Like it could be worse. Like at least you're creating something. That's so funny. Yeah, I feel like, you know, those are kind of like learned lessons. Like I'm going to imagine your parents were like, you got to shape up. Like, you got to shape up. And did you reform your ways when you went over to Japan? Was that like kind of like,
Yeah, I pretty much
Yeah.
got forced to because
Yeah.
we're good friends and
yeah.
different things are cool. So
Yeah. Maybe your parents had a plan all along. They're just like, we're just gonna move Jimmy. like
yeah, maybe it was the catalyst.
yeah, he's like, you know what? We're moving him out of this environment. Like we're gonna move him to Japan, the polar opposite. Like, but so you're in Japan for only 2 years?
2 years, yeah, and No More Crime after that.
Yeah, no more crime. I put my crime behind me. Now those are in the rearview mirror. And did you follow your dad to like Korea and
That's when I went to college to the yeah. Yeah, but I'll do a brief shout out to my three friends from that time in Holland.
yeah. Shouts out, shouts out. Yeah, be on better lookout next time.
Exactly. Yeah, Martijn, Bum, and Thijs. Yeah, I feel fortunate that maybe because of that experience, we still keep in touch and like
That's
we
amazing.
Zoom call every month.
Oh, cool.
And I visit them I try to visit them every once in a while in the Netherlands. So yeah.
Very cool. And so when you're in high school, did you like gravitate to any subjects, or were you still like figuring it out on like what was like intellectually, your thing?
Oh yeah, I'd say I'd always liked math, and I was really good at that. And surprisingly, not biology. And it was I really got into biology.
That's funny because I was like thinking about my experience, yeah, and how you had like an osmosis with your father. I had like the polar opposite. I was like, yeah, my dad's a structural engineer, very good at math and physics. I'm not very good at math and physics. Like, arithmetic, like I'm like, I'm good, but like I couldn't hang. And my dad was just like, come on, why doesn't this make sense to you? And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like I don't know. But biology definitely clicked for me. But
Interesting.
yeah, but math for some reason, like math and physics was just like harder for me. But I and no, there's no. My dad's like, fine, whatever. Just like you.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
he's like, it's cool.
Maybe the artist background in me really loved geometry and then the math behind that. So that was so I think you got to find your angle into math.
Yeah.
Because like partial differential equations are really tough for me.
Yeah. I'm a visual learner. So like whenever, like when I think about biology and like systems and like all this, I can visualize that stuff like in my head, which is way easier than just like numbers, like on a piece of paper. I'm like, oh my God. Like I just can't visualize it well. But very cool. So you're gravitating to math. And when you're starting to think about like college, where was your mind at like when you were thinking about what university to go to?
So I went into college thinking I wanted to become an engineer. I was quite clear about that. Freshman year, like undeclared. So took a whole bunch of different classes. I remember thinking about electrical engineering, software engineering, and I naively thought that all the problems in that domain will be solved by the time I graduate, and looked at bioengineering, like biology. And I was like, well, biology, like I was reading about DNA, and I was like, this is just an endless frontier of curiosity. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what we know. Whereas like software seemed finite. And I even asked myself, like, oh, how many software applications do the humans really need? Yeah. Turns out quite a lot. Like,
yeah, it turns out a lot. Yeah. Lots of software.
So when it comes to bioengineering, and then partly also I was told this is the hardest engineering major. There was a weekly Thursday biology lab that was like long hours. It was like 12 to 5 lab, and then a write-up, and then it was due the next day, and often people like stayed up all night to like get that done every single week.
Oh,
and for some reason I decided suffering was good for me. So
yeah, more suffering, need more suffering, please bring it on. Then but I guess like to just back up a little bit,
yep.
Did you just like, was UPenn just like, I'm going to UPenn, like that's, or was it, or did you like fire, like you had other schools in mind too?
Yeah, I guess after a year in Japan, I was like, oh, now I can go to the US college. And then applied to a bunch of different schools there. Got into UPenn, and I was told the University of Pennsylvania is very international. So I was like, cool, I'll fit in there.
Nice. So now you're suffering on these weekly, just like pain marathons. Yeah. And this talk like so during this so was that was a lab
There was a lab every Thursday. Yeah,
every Thursday
it's a
and but
sophomore year only, but yeah.
okay, got it, just for sophomore year. Did you have I guess another lab, any other lab experience as well? Like, did you join like a professor's lab, or was this the kind of the first kind of lab experience?
During undergrad, I worked in various labs. I've worked in the wet lab and learned how laborious,
Yeah,
uh, not just like pipetting, which often gets, but also just doing all the dishes and like
yeah,
look at microscopes,
yeah,
stuff in incubators.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's people like who haven't had that experience like think that labs are fully automated and like a futuristic thing, but it's just like it's a lot of manual labor, like lots of dishwashing, like undergrads, like that like the start of Exceeder really came from just not wanting to just do manual pipetting. Like I was like, I mean that was like one of the personal frustrations. I was like, can I just get one of those liquid handlers, please? like please. um but yeah, I empathize. um how was that experience overall though, just like being in those labs?
Yeah, I think it taught me discipline, to show up on time. And there
Oh
was one
yeah.
who did not show up on time, and one of my advisors got pissed off at me.
Yup. Yup. You'll learn that fast.
Yeah. So yeah, it was good there. I'd say I did enjoy bioengineering because it's very broad. It's like biology, but also engineering and some mechanical, electrical, and some software would be sprinkled in over those like 4 years.
Yep. And when I know you ended up going for your master's in mechanical engineering and applied is that kind of when you're like, okay, I want to specialize a little bit more here?
Yeah, I think after working in a biology lab, realizing how much tedious manual labor there is involved, I thought I would go jump headfirst into a PhD in robotics.
Yeah, totally. Just like to solve your own itch. And it's like, I'm going to automate all this laborious work.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when when you're doing that, like, can you talk a little bit about, selecting your lab for your graduate studies and whose lab
Yeah,
you're in?
yeah. And it's easy to say in hindsight, the nice story of like, oh, I worked in a biology lab. I learned how tedious it was. I then did a PhD to study robotics to automate a lot of the work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hindsight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you're connecting the dots. At the moment, the honest answer is that I met a professor in a robotics lab who was starting a lab who was building robots, and I was like, wow, that looks super fun.
Yeah.
Building all these different mechanical systems. And another like third like realistic reason is I needed to get a green card.
Yep.
And I heard getting a PhD makes it easier to get a green card. And so kind of the realities of life.
Yeah, totally.
Living international life.
Yeah. My father was getting his PhD at Berkeley. And that was kind of a similar route. That is a path to getting that. So,
Yep.
tell us about that lab though that you're in, building robotics. Like, whose lab was it? What was the culture like?
Yeah, it was Dr. Mark Yim's lab. He came from Xerox PARC. Super innovative culture. Super fun. I learned everything from mechanical to electrical to software engineering. And what I really loved, what I ended up getting really interested in, was doing automated parameter optimization on dynamic robots. And so think like physical systems, like legged robots. You may have seen videos of like Boston Dynamics, their dog, or now there's a lot of hype around humanoid robots. And so I was building those kinds of robots and teaching them how to run or walk.
Whoa.
Different types of locomotion.
Very cool.
And when you're doing that, there are many parameters to tune. And what I learned during my time there was also how to mathematically model these machines and then create dynamic models and then use that as a way to control them. Because you have all these degrees of freedom. That's way too much to think about. So you model this time what I learned was to model this as a spring-loaded inverted pendulum, and just thinking like you're simplifying the full robot as a mass on a pogo stick, so springy legs, and that would kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It simplified that, and then you reduce the degrees of freedom, and then you can think about the system in a much easier way. And then once you have it boiled down to, let's say, 6 parameters to tune, now you can use multivariate parameter optimization and basically do gradient descent on this multi-dimensional surface,
Cool.
and automate the gait of a robot. So like when our robots were running, we'd simplify it down to like stride length, stride frequency, and a couple parameters, and then have the robot run back and forth and then tune those parameters, like auto tune it, and then could get it to run 30% faster than any human could tune the robot. And that was like very magical
Rad.
to me to think about this physical robot that's very complex in the real world, and then simplifying it down to math. And you can think of all the different parameters in, like, let's say you have 3 parameters. You can think of it as a 3-dimensional space where you're trying to find the local minimum, which is like the optimal configuration, optimal set of parameters, and like think of like a ball rolling down that 3-dimensional landscape to find just the right parameters. And then
Cool.
as you add more parameters, let's say you have 6 parameters, then now that's like a 6-dimensional shape.
Very cool. Yeah, I love that. Like, I even just, applying that concept of just like this very complex thing with too many kind of like infinite options, and just chunking it down into its like kind of more straightforward constituent parts. I feel like that is a strategy for just general problem solving that is like tends to lead you doesn't, it doesn't always work out, but it helps kind of tackle these big hairy problems, because usually like if you just try to like tackle the big complex problem out the gate, you're just like, this is impossible. But so you just like have to break it up.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, if you try and generalize, I guess, yeah, it's like if you get too deep into the details, it gets overwhelming. You got to simplify it somehow to some like mental model.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or mental model, yeah.
Yeah, and what is this in this lab? Was your PI super hands-on, or was it just like, all right, grad students, do your thing?
Yeah, getting your PhD is notorious for just being thrown in the deep end and figure it out topic, which I think is good for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
There's an open-ended problem and you have to like rely on yourself to come up with something. PhDs take a long time, and robotics tends to be like 6 years. It took me 7 years. But it's like you have to motivate yourself, because if not, you could end up 6 years in your PhD program and wasting your time.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, like I always think about like that kind of like experience like in graduate school as like it is like a trial. Like in startup land, it's like it's just pure uncertainty. Like it basically,
like even in the industry job in a big company, you basically get it chewed down to like tasks.
Yep.
And guidance.
Yep.
But PhD is very much like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Like open-ended.
Yeah.
It was like I guess the thinking behind it is that, well, you need to come up with new stuff. So come up with new stuff.
Do it. Yeah. And I think too, that's like, because a lot of the time when I talk to grad students, they ask themselves like, what am I going to do with this? And I'm like, a ton. Like there's a ton you can do. Like, it may not be the exact field that what your dissertation was in, but exactly what you just described. It's a great way to kind of cut your teeth on what it means to start a company.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to hand that if there was a playbook or something that they can just like, it's like, this is how you create a successful company. Like this is the playbook. Everyone would be doing it. Like
exactly. Yeah.
Like no one has it figured out. Everyone is just like feeling around.
Yeah. Every startup is unique. Every PhD thesis, by definition, has to be something new and unique. And that's a kind of a long road, even with startups. They say startups is a sprint, but I find it's a daily improvement a little bit, getting some
Absolutely.
clarity.
Yeah, it's definitely a marathon, that's for sure. And I think treating it as a sprint is how you like supernova out. Like you got to have that like long-term mindset, or else you're just gonna
my PI, my Professor Markian, really awesome, really supportive. Any direction I had an interest in, he would support me. Very creative, and I think being paired with someone who was in the same situation as I was really helped. And I want to give a shout out to Sachin Chitta, who basically taught me everything I needed in terms of engineering, like onboarded me on Linux, taught the Emacs, how to write papers in LaTeX, how to program in Python, and later some C++. This is going to date me, but he taught me how to use Subversion, which is the versioning system.
A fellow grad student,
and he kind of took me under his wing and
amazing.
All the technical stuff that I needed to know, and that was like a godsend.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I always think about those people that you encounter on this journey, who they didn't have to do it either. Like they don't like they didn't have to like kind of like take you under their wing. And I'm always like, it makes me optimistic and super just like, it's kind of that pay it forward mentality.
Yeah.
Right. Especially, and like I think there's a very strong pay it forward mentality, in science and also in entrepreneurship, and especially in the West Coast too. Like it's kind of like you owe it to the next person, or you owe it to your colleagues to kind of pay it forward. So that's really awesome that you had someone like that kind of guiding you.
Yeah. And to this date, I find other founders to be incredibly helpful in the day-to-day, just like this person, Sachin, was to me during PhD.
Very cool.
The PI or the investors will give you higher level guidance, but the days, other folks in your peer group, is what really helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all for this episode of the Biotech Startups podcast featuring Jimmy Sastra. Join us next time for part 2 of our 4-part series, where we'll hear how Jimmy moved from the rigours of graduate school to Silicon Valley, joining Willow Garage during the early ROS era, and learning the craft of building robots that work outside the lab. He'll also share how helping build the first biology cloud lab at Transcriptic Stratios shaped his views on speed, focus, and hiring for mission, and the personal story that set his compass on automating science. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. The Biotech Startups podcast is produced by Exceeder. Don't want to miss an episode? Search for the Biotech Startups podcast wherever you get your podcasts and click subscribe. Exceeder provides research labs with equipment leases on founder-friendly terms to support paths to exceptional outcomes. To learn more, visit our website www.exceeder.com. On behalf of the team here at Exceeder, thanks for listening. The Biotech Startups podcast provides general insights into the life science sector through the experiences of its guests. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from the podcast is at the user's own risk. The views expressed by the participants are their own and are not the views of Exceeder or sponsors. No reference to any product, service, or company in the podcast is an endorsement by Exceeder or its guests.